Have you ever sat through a conversation where someone talked right over you? Like your words were background noise? You're mid-sentence and they just start speaking louder, and suddenly everyone's listening to them instead. Or maybe you've been the punchline of the group joke one too many times, and you laughed along because that's what you always do. But later that night, you're lying awake thinking about it, replaying the moment, wondering why you didn't say something, why you never say something. Here's what nobody warns you about. Every time you let that slide, you're teaching them a lesson. Not about respect, about how little it costs to disrespect you. Think about the last time you walked into a room and felt that shift in energy. You know the one, where you're visible only when someone needs something, but invisible when you have something to say. They interrupt you. They dismiss your ideas until someone with a louder voice repeats them 5 minutes later. They make comments that land just wrong enough to sting, but light enough that you look oversensitive for calling it out. So you don't. You laugh. You let it go. You tell yourself it's not worth the drama. But here is the thing that keeps you up at night. If it's not worth the drama, why does it hurt so much on the drive home? The uncomfortable truth is this. People are always learning from you. They're learning how to treat you, where your boundaries are, what they can get away with. And if you don't set the lesson clearly, they will set it for you. They'll push until they find resistance. And if they never find it, they'll keep pushing forever. This isn't some abstract psychology. This is happening in your life right now. In small moments, you're probably dismissing as no big deal. The coworker who takes credit for your work. The friend who only calls when they need something. The family member who belittles you in front of everyone. The partner who rolls their eyes every time you share an opinion. Machiavelli, that Renaissance strategist everyone loves to call ruthless, understood something most people miss. He said people judge almost everything by appearances, not intentions. They don't care what's in your heart. They care what you tolerate, what you allow, where you draw the line, or if you draw one at all. Respect isn't just given because you're a good person or because you deserve it. Respect is negotiated every single day in small moments that feel too minor to address, until they add up. Until you realize you've been trading your self-respect for peace that was never really peace at all. Now, before you think this is about becoming some aggressive jerk who dominates every conversation, let me be clear. This isn't about screaming at people or turning into a tyrant. And it's not the fluffy advice about loving yourself and hoping people magically start treating you better. What I want to give you is something you can actually use. Tomorrow morning in that meeting, at dinner with your family, in that conversation with your partner where you always back down. By the time we're done, you'll understand 3 critical things. First, how people quietly test your boundaries without you even realizing it's happening. Second, how to respond in those moments without creating unnecessary drama or looking like you're overreacting. And third, how to slowly, deliberately change the way people see you, even if you've let them walk over you for years. Let's start with the core truth that makes all of this work. People are fundamentally self-interested, not evil, not malicious, just focused on their own needs and goals. And they watch for signals. If you always say yes, they'll keep asking. If you always swallow disrespect, they will keep serving it to you. If you laugh when they humiliate you as a joke, they'll do it again because it cost them nothing and it got a reaction from the room. In their mind, that's efficient. Maximum benefit, zero consequence. Machiavelli would say you have taught them that the cost of disrespecting you is zero. So why would they change their behavior? That sounds harsh. It might even make you angry to hear it framed that way. But flip it around, because there's real power hidden in this insight. If you can teach people that disrespecting you is easy and consequence-free, you can also teach them the opposite. And no, that doesn't mean becoming some cartoon villain or spending your days in conflict. It means you quietly, calmly become someone who doesn't reward disrespect with approval. Someone who doesn't over-explain themselves to people who are clearly baiting them. Someone who follows through when a line is crossed, not with theatrics, but with real consequences. You might be thinking about your specific situation right now. Your boss who interrupts you in every meeting. Your friend group where you're always the target. Your partner who dismisses everything you say. We're going to get to exactly what you do in those moments. But first, there's a decision you need to make. Not tomorrow, not after you think about it more. Right now. The decision is this: I am no longer available for being disrespected as the price of peace. Because that's what you've been doing, isn't it? Trading self-respect for harmony. Letting things slide because you don't want drama. Staying quiet because you don't want to seem difficult. Laughing along because you don't want to be the boring one who can't take a joke. But here's what you need to understand. That peace isn't real. You still go home angry. You still lie awake replaying the scene, rewriting what you should have said. You still feel small and frustrated and trapped. You didn't avoid conflict. You just moved the conflict inside your own head where it eats at you in silence. So if this is hitting a nerve right now, if you're feeling that uncomfortable recognition in your chest, that's actually good. That means the part of you that's tired of swallowing disrespect is finally awake. Don't shut it back down. We're going to put it to work. Machiavelli had this famous line that people love to misunderstand. He said it's better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. People hear that and immediately picture some tyrant screaming at subordinates, ruling through terror. That's completely useless for your actual life. So let's translate what he really meant into something you can use. In your world, feared simply means people believe there are real consequences for crossing you. Not violence, not rage, just consequences. Maybe you walk away. Maybe you stop helping them. Maybe you stop giving them access to your time and energy. Maybe you speak up in front of others. Maybe you go over their head. Maybe you end the relationship entirely. It doesn't need to be dramatic or explosive. It just needs to be real and consistent. If people believe there are no consequences for how they treat you, respect dies a slow death. If they feel there is genuinely something to lose by disrespecting you, respect naturally rises in its place. That's the theory. Now let's make it practical, because the next time you walk into a room, the game starts in the first 30 seconds. Watch what happens when someone who quietly commands respect enters a space. They don't necessarily speak first or speak loudest. They don't rush in apologizing for their existence. They do a few simple things that signal something important. They move like they already belong there, like their presence needs no justification. They take a beat before they speak, letting silence sit instead of filling it nervously. They let their eyes land on people with calm directness instead of darting around looking for approval. They choose where to sit or stand instead of hovering awkwardly on the edges, waiting to be told where to go. Machiavelli would call this stage managing perception. We might just call it presence. So next time you walk into a meeting, a party, even a family gathering, try this experiment. Instead of rushing to fill silence or prove your worth, slow down by 10%. Instead of diving straight for the least noticeable chair, like you're trying to disappear, choose one that's neutral, not the head of the table like you're conquering territory, just not folded into the corner, apologizing for taking up space. Instead of immediately looking at your phone or the floor, pick a few faces. Hold eye contact for a genuine second or two. Give a small nod of acknowledgement. You don't have to be the loudest person in the room. People actually respect calm certainty far more than noisy insecurity trying to prove itself. That's before anything is even said. Now, what about when the actual disrespect shows up? Because it will show up, especially when people are used to the old version of you. Let's say you're speaking in a meeting and someone cuts you off mid-sentence. Your old pattern was probably to go quiet immediately, or laugh it off and let them take over, or speed up your words like you're apologizing for wasting everyone's time. Here's your new pattern. You use a simple line. Hold on, I wasn't finished. That's it. Not angry, not emotional. Just a calm interruption of the interruption. Then you continue with what you were saying. You don't add nervous qualifiers like, if that's okay, or sorry, but you don't over-explain. You just reclaim your sentence and keep going. You've just sent a signal that costs you nothing, but changes everything. There is a boundary here, and I will enforce it even in front of other people. Let's do another one. Someone makes a joke at your expense in front of a group. You feel that familiar sting in your chest. Everyone looks at you to see how you'll react, because your reaction sets the tone. Old pattern. Force a laugh, maybe even make a harsher joke about yourself to prove you're easygoing and can take it. New pattern. You stop for half a second. You look directly at them, not smiling, and you say calmly, "Nah, I'm not okay with that one." Then you go back to whatever you were doing. You're not lecturing them. You're not performing outrage for the audience. You're just not rewarding their disrespect with your laughter and approval. That moment will feel awkward. Your heart will probably be pounding the first few times you do it. But here's what happens next. People remember that feeling. They might roll their eyes in the moment. They might mumble, "Relax, it was just a joke," to save face. But next time they go to use you as the punchline, that microsecond of tension comes back in their body, and they think, maybe not them this time. That's Machiavellian strategy in action. You didn't give a TED talk about boundaries. You didn't send a long text later explaining your feelings. You just created a tiny, uncomfortable consequence in the moment. And now you might be thinking, but what if they double down? What if they say I'm overreacting or being too sensitive? This is where most people break. The moment their boundary gets tested, they retreat and apologize and explain themselves into oblivion. The trick is to not get dragged into their frame. If they say, "Relax, you're overreacting," you do and start defending yourself with a 5-minute speech about why you had the right to your feelings. You keep it short and grounded. "I'm not overreacting. I just said I'm not okay with that." And then you leave it there. Let the silence do the work. You'll notice something powerful when you stop defending and explaining. There's less for them to push against. The more words you use, the weaker you sound, because it signals you're not sure of your own boundary. Short sentence, calm tone, repeat if necessary. "I said I'm not okay with that. I'm not done speaking yet. I don't allow people to talk to me like that." Notice that last one. It's incredibly powerful because it quietly says, "I have standards. I enforce them, and I'm not asking for your permission. I'm stating reality. This is how things work in my world." Now maybe you're thinking your situation is deeper than a few moments. Maybe you've been the doormat friend, the punching bag at work, the family member everyone talks over for years. They're not going to suddenly respect you because you used one strong sentence. You're right. That would be like doing one push-up and expecting visible abs. If your reputation is the one we can get away with anything around, you're not fixing that overnight, but you can absolutely change it over time. Machiavelli wrote about how sometimes rulers need to break dramatically with their past patterns to send a shock through the system. You're not a Renaissance prince, but the psychology is identical. You cannot become a respected person while behaving exactly like the version of yourself people grew comfortable disrespecting. Something has to shift, and it starts with you quietly stopping behaviors that taught them you were available for disrespect in the first place.